The alignment view of beliefs. The alignment channel exists to offer a quieter space, a place to slow down, to observe, to reflect, and to better understand ourselves. So let's begin. In the previous videos, we explored beliefs, how they influence perception, how they shape meaning, and how two people can experience the same event very differently. But this raises some questions. How do beliefs influence our lives over time? Why do certain patterns seem to repeat themselves? And why do some experiences feel strangely familiar, even when the circumstances are different? To answer those questions, we need to look at beliefs through the perspective of alignment. From the perspective of alignment, beliefs are not isolated ideas. They are part of a larger process. A belief influences interpretation. Interpretation influences emotion. Emotion influences behavior. Behavior influences experience. And experience often reinforces the original belief. This process can happen so automatically that we rarely notice it, yet it quietly shapes much of human experience. So let me give you an example. Imagine someone who believes, "I'm not good enough." That belief may influence how they interpret situations. A mistake becomes proof, criticism becomes confirmation, a challenge becomes a threat. Because of that interpretation, certain emotions may emerge: self-doubt, anxiety, shame, fear, and those emotions may influence behavior. Perhaps they avoid opportunities, perhaps they stay silent, perhaps they give up too quickly. And when those behaviors create disappointing outcomes, the original belief appears confirmed. The cycle continues, not because the belief was necessarily true, but because the process reinforced it. And so many recurring life patterns follow a similar process. A belief influences interpretation, the interpretation influences emotion, the emotion influences behavior, and the behavior often creates experiences that reinforce the original belief. Over time, the pattern begins to feel like reality. This is one reason people can become trapped in cycles they do not fully understand. Not because they are broken, but because the process itself remains unseen. The longer a belief remains unexamined, the more it can become part of an identity. Eventually, a person may stop saying, "I believe this," and begin saying, "This is just who I am." The belief becomes invisible, not because it disappeared, but because it became familiar. So this is why observation matters. The moment we become aware of a belief, we create space. Space between the belief and the interpretation, space between the interpretation and the emotion, space between the emotion and the behavior. That space may seem small, but it can change everything. The next time you experience a recurring pattern, pause and ask, what happened? How did I interpret it? What emotion followed? What behavior emerged? And what belief might be underneath the entire process? These questions help reveal processes that often remain hidden. Alignment is not about eliminating beliefs. It is about becoming aware of them, because awareness allows us to examine what previously operated automatically. And once we can see a process, we are no longer completely controlled by it. So in this module, we explored beliefs, how they influence perception, how they shape interpretation, and how they can create self-reinforcing patterns over time. But if you look closely at the processes we explored today, you may notice something important. Beliefs influence interpretation, and interpretation often gives rise to emotion. Anxiety, fear, shame, jealousy, relief, excitement, which leads us to a new question. Where do emotions actually come from? Do they come directly from events? Or do they emerge from the meanings we assign to those events? In the next module, we will begin exploring emotions, not as enemies to defeat, but as experiences to understand. Because many emotions that seem to appear out of nowhere may have deeper origins than we realize. Until next time, observe carefully.